Jesus Freak here. And this is actually probably good news for my projects as far as the ability to use translations in my Sunday morning videos other than the King James. I'm still going to do the main videos with the King James. If I change anything, it's going to be a secondary video. Okay. So, let me explain. Right before I started recording, what prompted me to do this? I decided, instead of just saying, oh, I'm going to estimate that about 80% of my video is a scripture reading. I mean, that's a fair assertion. So I said, I think I still have 5 of these videos. Now, of course, there's probably a few that are going to fall afoul of the terms overall. And I think it's going to be a matter of, the spirit versus the letter, or, whatever. The Palm Sunday readings could be problematic. And the one in 156 that uses the entire book of Philemon. See, I actually went into Audacity and opened a calculator and crunched the numbers. The amount of content that was actually the Bible reading, generously, since I was also including the dead air between the readings, and I was including the our first reading for this morning, and stuff like that. And there are alternatives, such as replacing the Psalter with the BCP 79, which is public domain, which could bring the number down too. And BCP 79 it's a modern translation of Psalms in imitation of the style of Miles Coverdale. So, I'm going to show you a little something. I brought these up before. 2 Cambridge Clarions. One's a KJV, one's the New King James. And the King James, the New King James has its pretty common copyright free license for modern English version. It says, the text of the New King James Version may be quoted or reprinted without prior written permission with the following qualifications. 1. Up to and including 1,000 verses may be quoted in printed form as long as the verses quoted amount to less than 50% of a complete book of the Bible and make up less than 50% of the total work in which they are quoted. 2. All NKJV quotations must conform accurately to the NKJV text. And, of course, as much as this is supplemented by audio, it all does appear in printed form, as you're well aware, because I open caption the scripture readings. So basically, the video and the audio supplement each other. Now, as far as I understand, other than really long readings like the Passion narrative, which could fall afoul of the 50% rule, or the Book of Philemon, I'm at least within the spirit. Now, this only helps me with a possible modern English version. It doesn't help me with Spanish. The reason for that is the two Spanish translations I have, the limitation is a lot lower. As I said, the limit here is 1,000 verses or up to 50% of the content. The limit for the NBLA and the RVR 77 is a much lower 500 verses or 25% of the content. So where do my videos fall? For the most part, they fall in the 40s. The distribution I had, I think, was somewhere in or around 38% to 48%. Meaning only if someone's really trying to Philly lawyer me am I going to run into problems if I'm using an English translation. The problem with Spanish translations, the Reina Valera 60 doesn't seem to have a similar grant at all. The Reina Valera 77 and the NBLA both have the 25% / 500 verse grant I mentioned. And this seems to be the standard for HarperCollins' Spanish unit. As you know, Zondervan is the license holder for the NBLA and Nelson for the RVR 77. And they're both HarperCollins. So, in theory, I suppose, if I wanted to use NBLA enough, I could probably contact Lockman, like I've said before. I can look into whether any other versions out there have 50% rules. The problem is, I don't want a version that's cross-translated from English. And I don't want anything that's really paraphrastic. And even though it's not nearly as paraphrastic as its English counterpart, I don't want to touch the Nueva Versión Internacional with a 10-foot pole. So, for Spanish, I'm still looking. For English, I could probably do any video I wanted with secondary translation if I really was up to it. Jesus, freak out.